On this day, when we mark the 96th year since the armistice in the Centenary of the start of the Great War, our thoughts turn to those that made the ultimate sacrifice. They marched off to battle for king and country, yet did not return to their Norfolk villages and the comfort of their loving families. In the rural communities of our county, this impacted on everyone. The blacksmith, the farm labourer, the shepherd, the herdsman. Their names and many thousands more are recorded on the various memorials in the 600+ churchyards around Norfolk. All Saints' Salhouse is a beautiful 14th century thatched church standing beside the road from Wroxham to Salhouse. It's clearly a loved and cared for village church and beautifully decorated. The stained glass windows are Victorian additions and are certainly worth a visit alone. Here too, the memorial is in the churchyard, recording the names of 19 young men from the village, including 3 with the surname Fox. A new book has been created, A Century Has Not Aged Them, and Church Warden Tim Woodward told me more.
We thought it would be a good idea to make up this book, which includes all the names and a resume of their life in the village, of all the 19 men that are there. On the memorial, there is the name of Philip Hewitson, who was a captain. There are also 2 sets of brothers who unfortunately died as well, and 1 able seaman. Also included in the book are various letters that Philip Hewitson wrote to his mother and father during the First World War. Of the 19, 1 of them is buried in our churchyard here. His name was Edward Fox, and he unfortunately died during training at Aldershot, and his body was returned to Salhouse and buried in the churchyard.
Just south of Fakenham lies the village of Great Ryburgh. St Andrew's Church, with its round tower and Saxon origins, stands at the entrance to the village close to the River Wensum. In 1921 there were 2 separate war memorials installed, the traditional obelisk in the village and an elaborately decorated Think and Thank screen that divides the nave and the transept inside the church. Peter Trent has been researching those Ryburgh men who died in the Great War, and I asked him whether the Think and Thank screens were common in churches.
Absolutely not. This is probably unique. It came about as a result of a desire of the Reverend Tatham, who was the then incumbent, to restore this particular chapel, and it would serve as a war memorial at the same time. It was carved by people in Fakenham and in Norwich. It was painted by 2 sisters and the architect, and it commemorates those who served and died, and in the term Think and Thank, it was commemorating those who served and came back. The Roll of Honour was obviously started, and we can find this in the parish magazines from a list that was put up in the church porch. Names were obviously added as they joined up. The start date 1914 shows on the Roll of Honour. There's still no closing date, so there is a real problem with closing any list, especially seemingly in Ryburgh, because some are commemorated in one place and others in others. There's no definitive list.
Behind every name on every memorial, in each of the churchyards in our county, there is a story of a man, often a young man, who went off to fight a battle and didn't return. But it's also a story of the families that were left behind, the communities that were affected. And in this year, this centenary since the start of the Great War, there's been an enormous amount of work that's been done by local researchers and historians to tell those stories, and they are certainly to be congratulated.